many times have you nodded, smiled, stayed quiet, didn't want to ruffle any feathers, and just went along with what was happening in the moment? It happens all too often. I know I've been there far too many times than I like to admit, but this is the implicit yes. And from what I've seen in so many places, that we always talk about the explicit yes, the one that says when you actually say yes and you want to say no. But one that I found that creeps up and chips away at our essence is that implicit yes. The one where we just stay silent. We let things happen. We don't really speak up for ourselves. We don't advocate for ourselves. And we let other people's expectations and control actually control what we do. And if you've ever felt that before, you know exactly what I mean. Because you feel that in your gut. You feel like, oh, I really don't want to do this, but it just feels like it's too much. It feels like too much of a threat to actually say yes, to say no and ruffle the feathers or disrupt the peace. And this is a response that you may have learned throughout your life, that it's easier just to go with the flow, easier just to kind of let others run the show, easier just to go with the status quo than to actually stand up for yourself, to actually let your voice be heard, to actually live in alignment with your values. And if you've ever experienced this, first thing, do not shame yourself for that, because that is something that is a natural safety response. And what I mean is that there was probably something in your life that happened that taught you to do this, because it was safer to keep the peace outside yourself and just stuff it down than to actually speak up for yourself, because maybe you had in the past and you felt the repercussions of that. Or maybe you just saw what happened to other people when they spoke up for themselves. And our nervous system's number one job is to keep us safe. And so when you're experiencing a situation where it feels like it could be threatening for you to actually speak up for yourself, the first thing your nervous system is going to do is go to its familiar place. And if you're someone who has experienced the implicit yes and you just go along with things, that's been me most of my life. That is the fawning response. Your nervous system has taught you that if you just let other people kind of go and run the show and you just kind of stay quiet and don't say anything, that you're safe. And it may feel safe in the short run, but this does not come without a cost. And the cost is that resentment that you start to build within yourself. The cost is the lack of self-trust, where you know your voice is not being heard and yet you keep it quiet time and time again. And there's something within you that just says, this is what I want in my life. This is what I desire. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to follow what everybody else is expecting of me. But yet you stay quiet. And so you start to learn not to trust yourself, and you start to think that other people know better than you. And you start to think that other people have a greater wisdom than your own inner wisdom. And that is the biggest cost to this, that resentment for yourself, lack of self-trust, and then the slow erosion of your essence, where you feel like you're just kind of following along with what was expected of you. Because the truth is, it takes a lot of courage to step out of that role. You've played a role in so many people's lives. And the truth is, the minute you do step out of that role, there are often repercussions for that. And that can be really hard to buffer. And it can be really hard, especially if you're feeling alone in that, or if you have used the fawn response to create that sense of safety in yourself for years. And so I wanted to bring awareness to that, because this implicit yes is something that can cost you a lot over the course of time. And in the short term, again, it can feel relieving. It can feel easier just to go along with things, keep quiet, and allow others to make the decisions for you, allow others to set the expectations for your life. But at the end of the day, what's going to be lacking is your sense of value within yourself, your sense of peace, independence, individuation, and by far your sense of self-respect. And so if this is you, if this has spoken to you, I want to share my free guide, Sacred Boundaries. And this guide helps you create those boundaries and have scripts that you can use that don't feel jarring, or that you're trying to really get at somebody, it's things that you can say with love, where you can stand up for yourself, but not feel like you're being abrasive in the process. Because let's face it, when you're setting boundaries, there's a lot of guilt that can come to the surface. It can feel threatening, and it can feel like we need to retreat back to that complacent version, the implicit yes version of you. And so I created this guide to help you navigate boundaries where you doesn't feel as threatening, where it's inviting, where you start to build the muscle of building boundaries. So it's in the comments here, I'll leave it. And it's also, you can grab the link in my bio. And I would love to hear how it helps you really navigate all the relationships in your life. And thank you so much for joining me today.